The Overwatch Open Division is a bit of an anomaly among the Overwatch community. We all know that it exists, but unless you're a part of it, you probably don't know anything about it. Since the Open Division is probably the future of the Overwatch League here, you have to wonder, what's going on in the Open Division right now? Who are the teams and the players to watch? Is there a way for you to watch? The answer is, I don't know. Which is why I decided to talk to someone who did. Welcome to the first ever interview on the Dividing by Zero channel. Today, I got into a call with the head coach of a very successful Open Division team, the Dogmen, in order to gain a better understanding of the Tier 3 scene, and I'm very excited to share his knowledge with you as well. Just to let you know, this is my very first time interviewing someone, so if there's something that I can work on as an interviewer, please let me know in the comments after the video. Now let's not waste any more time and get into the interview. Alright, so you all heard the intro. I am proud to introduce you all to the first ever interviewee on the Dividing by Zero channel. Opti, how are you doing tonight?
I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. So first of all, can you explain to everyone who you are and why the people watching should care about what you have to say?
Yep, hey y'all, I am Opti, also known as Optidox in game sometimes, and I am the head coach of the Dogman Akita, the A-team for the little org that Dogman and Jayne were running together. We're currently playing in Open Division, and we're 8-0 and feeling good about our future. And
by Jayne running, you mean the Jayne as in the assistant coach of the Fuel Jayne, correct?
Yeah. So Dogman and Jayne put together the tryouts, they evaluated players and coaches early on, and now that they've gotten it all together, they're still there as resources for us if we need them. They help us get scrims, they help us with strats, help us with what we need, but they've actually set up like a really efficient org. We have a manager, we have 3 coaches per team. Head coach, assistant coach, analyst, and it's honestly like pretty much running itself now, and that's great. Yeah,
that's actually really cool. I'd have to imagine that's something that not many Open Division teams have.
Yeah, full staff helps a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So the NA division has almost, I think last I checked, 800 teams in it, and from that you have to somehow get down to 4 teams that you send over to trials. So I feel like not very many people know how Open Division is structured. So could you go through like how a season of Open Division works?
Yeah, sure. So from the very beginning, every team is on a level playing field. There are 5 weeks of gameplay, and each weekend you're going to play against 2 other teams. First week, you're assigned 2 random teams. From that point on, it's a Swift-style system. So if you win your first 2 games, next week you'll play against 2 other teams that won their first 2 games. And basically, for the rest of the tournament, you'll almost exclusively play against teams that have the same win-loss record as you. So as you get... So, like, the early weeks, if you're a team that's... Let's say you're like a 4.3k plus team, like, you're a good, solid, high-level team, you're probably not in much danger in the first couple of weeks unless you get immensely unlucky and the games won't be too bad. But as the weeks go on, the better you do, the harder your competition gets. So particularly going into this last week for the teams that are still 8-0 or 7-1, it's not going to be an easy week. And then from there, the top 16 teams from this phase, from the Swiss phase, qualify for playoffs. And from playoffs, the top 4 teams or more, if Contenders Trials teams give up their slot, but that doesn't happen very much, qualify for Trials. And then the top 4 teams from Trials, which is 4 Contenders teams that were relegated, and 4 Open Division teams usually make Contenders. So it's a long road. You have to make it through a lot of steps, because not only do you have to do well in Open Div, you then have to do well in playoffs, because even if you're your number 1 team Open Div, if you drop in playoffs, you still don't make Trials. And then once you're in Trials, you have to compete against Contenders teams and win some games. So it's a long road, but it's fun.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of steps if you want to get up to the Overwatch League, and I guess Contenders, but then obviously the end goal for everyone is the Overwatch League.
Always.
So right now, Open Division NA is through week 4 out of 5, 8 games have gone by, and the Dogmen are one of 5 teams that are still undefeated. How confident are you that you guys can go 10-0?
I'm pretty confident. We've put a lot of work in the past week into preparing for our matches this weekend, specifically for those teams, not just generally, really polishing off our own synergy, and I feel really good about my players and about the work we put in.
I'm glad to hear that you're confident, but what teams are you the most scared of? Either teams that are undefeated right now, or teams that are not undefeated that you might end up facing off against in the playoffs?
Well, I gotta say, I think both of our opponents this week, Phase 2 and Underwater Squad, are, I would say, the other two of the top three teams in Open Div right now. So we're not in for an easy week. I just feel very good about our preparation, for sure. And I have a lot of respect for the players in these two teams. Other teams to look out for who have lower records right now. Goats had some stumbles in the midseason, but I gotta say they've done impressive work in the past few weeks, and they will likely make playoffs. U4 is a team that lost a game very early, but has been a very strong team. A good team that I expect to do well in playoffs. And Bauta Pop is another team with some like relatively big names like Blam, who is also, they're also 7-1, and if they win this week, I would expect to see them in playoffs too, and see them do well.
So since we've been talking about teams that you're expecting to do well, let's talk about some players. So as far as future prospects, who are some players in Open Division that we should be expecting to maybe see rise through the ranks over the next year or so, maybe see in contenders next season?
Sure. So first I gotta shout out my entire team. It's obligatory. So Chronodota he already played in Australian contenders, placed third. He is American, but he even flew over there for the LAN. He's insane. His communication is insane. His own gameplay is insane, and he just has one of the best spatial control minds I've ever seen in Overwatch. Swimmer is an amazing shot caller. His ult tracking is actually scary. He'll call grab at 70 and it will be at 70 or 71. And I don't know how he does it. He's our main support player. He's actually crazy. His mechanics are next level. The main supports have a reputation for not aiming, but this is not the guy who makes them have that reputation. We have Iced on hit scan. His Sombra is incredibly smart. He does a really good job of leading his team, telling them whether they need to be aggressive, passive, how they're going to play. And beyond that, mechanically insane, great Widow, great Sombra, great Tracer, good hit scan player. Next we have Saucy. He's our flex DPS. This dude can play anything. If you tell him to learn a hero, he will learn it, and he will do good on it. And he's just fantastic, really smart. He has the best comp switch calls of anyone on the team, which is really surprising for a DPS. So just great players. Last two we have Majesty, former support from Goats in the past, and absolutely nutty Ana. Best sleep darts in T3. I will stand by that statement. And just great to work with too. Does a great job of playing calm. A lot of flex supports will panic and back up from their team when they should be going towards them, or immediately throw bio when they get to. He uses his cooldowns at just the right time. And finally we have Kevin. He is a player for Team Canada. He's not one of the players who went to the LAN, but he's on the practice team, and he's our off tank. He is quiet, but behind that quietness, he has a fantastic ability to be with his teammates, to support them and to protect them, and also to frag out hugely with diva bombs. So all of them are fantastic. If there's any academy who's listening, pick up my players. They're too good to stay out of contenders. Other players who I really have a lot of respect for, like I said, Phase 2, Sinker, Hawk, Duplicate, Moore, and Insomniac. All these players have played in contenders or trials in the past. They're fantastic. They're, in my opinion, outside of my team, obviously, the #1 team in Open Div right now. They're the guys to beat. Really good players. I expect to see all of them go up to academies soon. Other standouts, U4, Pugs, and It's Onyx. That DPS duo is legitimately scary to play against. They will assassinate supports super efficiently. And yeah, there's honestly just a lot of good talent in top Open Div right now. And I expect that there will be a lot of turnover in NA contenders this year. You're going to see a lot of people rising up.
Yeah, especially as there's going to be some room opening up in contenders as people end up moving up to Overwatch League. Really, it's like a lot of people end up moving up a stage with this whole drain that's about to go on.
Yeah.
So, since we've been talking about top Open Division players, how would you compare the top Open Division teams to bottom-level contenders teams like Second Wind or Bye-Week? Do you think Dogmen or some other teams could beat them? Especially considering that if you end up making it to trials, these are the teams that you'll be playing against.
I am absolutely confident that we can beat those teams. I think that teams that get into contenders for a season and struggle tend to fall off to some degree. Once you stagnate, it can be hard to regain momentum. And so I actually think I would expect now and in the future to see a lot of turnover between bottom Open Division teams. I mean, it happened in the very first season too. Or sorry, bottom contenders teams and the top Open Division teams. I would expect lots of switching to be going on there. And even within the rosters of the bottom contenders teams, they're almost entirely new teams. And frankly, the players aren't the players are like pretty much the same pool of players that the top Open Division teams are made from, if that makes any sense. They all have like team experience with each other. I think there's almost no gap there at all, if even one.
So, if you do make it to Contenders Trials, you will find yourself playing against Houston's Academy team, GGEA, who got relegated last year in Contender Season 2. What do you think went wrong for them to get relegated?
Yeah, so first of all, I can't speak to the internal state of the org. The org might have done some things right or wrong as far as player accommodation staff. I can't speak to that, but that's always, when you're an academy team and you're not just, I guess, underdogs, that's always a relevant factor. You sort of need to take your team seriously. But beyond that, you know, it's really hard to say. Watching that roster, it seemed like from the moment they swapped from being the like Outlaws Academy team to being GGEA, they just stopped clicking. There was something just broken. I think Smurf and Shark particularly are some real standout players. Their main tank and their hit scan DPS. I expect to see both of them in Contenders again, in Owl again. But I don't know what happened with them. Maybe there was something with like the multinationality. I know they have 2 Korean players, 2 European players, 2 North American players. Maybe they never got over that culture or language barrier. But it's really hard to say from the outside what happens to make a team just stop clicking.
Do you think the Dogmen could beat them?
You know, I don't expect the roster to be the same this season as it was last season, but if we were to play against the GGEA I saw at the end of last season of Contenders, I think it's completely possible that we would beat them. I don't think it would be easy for sure, and I'm not even saying that it's like probable, but I think we would be pretty closely matched teams.
All right, so now that we've spent some time talking about how Open Division works and what the scene is like in top Open Division, obviously as someone who has found success in Open Division, I'm going to ask you for some advice for anyone out there. So what are some common mistakes that you see other Open Division teams make?
Sure. Okay, so number one mistake I think Open Division teams can struggle with is roster stability. If you're swapping players in and out constantly during Open Div, you can't expect to be one of the top teams. You don't get time to build that synergy. You don't get time to make your players truly comfortable with each other, and that's huge for being able to compete against high level teams. Besides that, assuming you can get yourself a stable roster, I think a lot of teams put their energy into the wrong place. Some teams get really stuck on having like really unique strategies for all the maps, and they never really get comfortable with each other. They never get good synergy, and they never master any of the comps they're playing. They just play a lot of different things. There's a few teams like that. But this season, I think the even bigger issue I've seen is a lot of teams that are trying so hard to get synergy. Maybe they're having problems in comms, maybe they're having problems moving together or sticking together, maybe they're having problems with decision making, but they end up picking a comp, most commonly goats, and just one-tricking it, and playing so much goats that they lose the ability to play other things. And when they're challenged by teams who know how to play into goats, whether with goats or another comp, they just kind of fall apart. They don't really know what to do. I think that's been a very prevalent issue this season because of how easy goats is compared to the popular variants of dive.
All right, awesome. And also, if anyone who is watching this is has just hit GM, maybe 4.1, 4.2K, and they're thinking about maybe trying to get into Open Division and actually take competitive Overwatch seriously, what advice would you give to them?
Sure. Okay, so first of all, for everyone, not just the GMs, you should totally play an Open Division. Overwatch is at its most fun when you're playing on an organized team with your friends. And to that point, the number one piece of advice for anybody is like your teammates, like your staff, have fun doing what you do. You will burn out if you are not enjoying coming to scrims. Especially if you're a serious team and you're scrimming almost every night, 2 hours, 4 hours, you will burn out. It will be not fun, and it will be a terrible time. I've done that before. I was a player on, I guess as high as 4.3K, 4.4K teams before I became a coach. So seriously, have fun. Have fun. There's 100%. But as far as being able to get your name out there, to become a better competitive player, number one, grind. Look at what the players on better Open Division teams than you are doing. Watch Contenders VODs, watch Owl VODs, look at what the players in your position are doing better than you, and look at your VODs and see if you can find your own mistakes. And just constantly be reviewing and trying to learn new things. It's most of the grind to become a top player is completely personal. It doesn't have to do with your team. If you're good enough as an individual, you will find a team. You will. So just keep on grinding yourself. But to that end, use your time smartly. I really recommend watching VODs, whether yours or someone else's, compared to just like throwing hours into comp. As far as finding a team goes, yeah, join the big Discords. I bet you can find your way into the OW. Even if you can't, a lot of people check the Cow League Discord. I know there are other ones now. I am not so into like the big public Discords, but yeah, you find yourself Discords, put your name out there, use their recruitment channels, and find yourself a team that you enjoy playing with, and from there just keep the personal grind up. Also, in general, if you're on a team and you guys are actually trying as a team to make it to the top, to make it to playoffs, find a coach. Coaches are really important. Even if your coach isn't fantastic or they have some specialty and they're not great at everything else, just having someone to watch your VODs and say, that looks strange, and be able to point that out to you can be enough, because then you can go back and think, why was that strange? You can use your own analytical skills. So just having someone to watch you play is huge.
As Open Division over the next few weeks comes to a close and playoffs are happening, how can people keep up with the standings? Or is there a place where Open Division games are being broadcast?
Yeah, there is actually. So keep up with the standings. The way I've done it in the past is just Google Overwatch Open Division NA or North America Season 3. Season 2. We're in
Season 3.
Yeah, we're in Season 3, North America. So the bracket, it's on Battlefy. The bracket is pretty intuitive. You just go to the brackets tab and look at standings, and you can look at the matches that are happening this week. They're ordered by win records, so the top matches are at the top. It's really easy to keep up with from the outside. You can see all the rosters. But as far as watching the games yourself goes, Broadcast GG, fantastic organization, bringing so much exposure to the T3 scene, which is not getting nearly enough of it. They broadcast so many Open Division matches, and actually the Dogmen Akita versus Phase 2 match, which I think will be perhaps the highest level match in all of Open Division this season, is happening tomorrow on Broadcast GG at assuming the game starts on time, around 3 EST or 3 EDT, I guess right now. But so yeah, tune into that. See what T3 looks like, because I think you'll all be impressed. I think you'll see how similar to Contenders it really is.
Hi, dividing and cutting in real quick. Since this interview was recorded last night, this game is actually going to be happening today at 3 p.m. EST, so I highly encourage watching it if you can. I'll also be leaving a link to Broadcast GG's Twitch channel in the description. And going completely off topic, but since it is topical, who are you rooting for in the Overwatch World Cup?
Oh, I gotta go with my boys from Team USA. I know,
yes.
I know. Jayne runs my org, so this is heresy. But
job here.
I know, this is heresy, and I love Team Canada. We had the opportunity to scrim with Team Canada. It was a lot of fun, and the players are great. Jayne is great, and I really do like all of them. But I mean, gotta rep that USA. I can't abandon my USA boys. Also Thailand, because who doesn't like Thailand? That team is the best. They're the most happy team.
That's very good point. So, is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, just emphasis on, seriously, people think that Open Division is like a giant step down from Contenders. It's not. It's not at all. People always underestimate Open Division players and Open Division teams, and they think it's like this monumental gap. Even if you're a 4.1 team, and you're like, and even if you're probably not going to make playoffs if you're like a brand new 4.1 team, but if you keep grinding, you get your players up a little, you might make playoffs your next season. And the teams in playoffs Open Division, especially the top ones, those are basically Contenders teams, just in the making. Blizzard doesn't do a ton to support the T3 scene right now, and I find that people outside of it don't do a lot to support it either. So give T3 teams some love. Tune into Broadcast GG. I think you will see better gameplay than you're anticipating.
Well, I personally feel like I have a much better grasp on how Open Division works and what to watch out for in the future. Opti, I know you're preparing for some really big games next week, so thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come talk with me.
Yeah, no problem. I really appreciate you having me. I hope this can get T3 a bit more exposure.
Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found as much enjoyment out of listening to this interview as I had doing it. Once again, thank you so much for joining me, Opti. Is there anything you'd like to plug for yourself or for the Dogmen while you're here?
Yeah, first of all, if you're not following Iced, Saucy, Chronodota, Kevin, Swimmer, and Majesty on Twitter and Twitch, you should be following them on all of them, because these are some players you can really learn from just by watching. They're great. And I think we have an official Twitter account at DogmenOW. I think that's it. As well as, obviously, Dogman. Huge shout out to Dogman and Jayne. They've done a lot to make this happen. Give them a follow, too, if you don't. Tune into their streams. Great players. I know Jayne's already in L, so I can't say I expect to see him in L, because he will be, but I would expect to see Dogman in L soon, too.
And I'll leave all those links in the description. That's all for me, guys. Don't get tilted. Peace nut.